So today I am going to start a new chapter, that is biological classification, and this chapter is very important. Not only very important, very important from exam point of view. On an average 3 to 4 question comes from this part, okay, sometime 5 also, but 3 to 4 is fixed. Okay, now I have divided this chapter into 5 units. Okay, that is kingdom Monera 1, kingdom Protista 2, kingdom Fungi 3. Okay, then these are under 1 unit, and then this is the 5th unit. So there are 5 units. Okay, so because kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia will be dealt separately in another chapter, that's why I will not go into detail of these chapters, these parts, but this one, and this one will be dealt in detail. Okay, now apart from this, this chapter starts with classification, okay, of organism. So that I will cover in first unit. Now, classification. From time immemorial, humans are trying to classify things. Earlier, these classifications were based upon our need. Okay, as per our requirement, something is edible, something is not edible. So earlier classification were need based. But first scientific attempt, okay, was done by Aristotle. Okay, he used simple morphological character to classify plant into trees, shrub and herb. So on the basis of morphology, he divided plant into 3 different groups, that is tree, shrub and herb, and then he divided animals into 2 groups, those which had red blood and those that did not. So with red blood and without red blood. Okay, now then there is another classification system, that is 2 kingdom classification system. This 2 kingdom classification system was given by Linnaeus. Okay, so he proposed we can divide living organism into 2 separate kingdom on the basis of presence or absence of cell wall. Okay, so on the basis of presence or absence of cell wall, he divided organism into 2 separate kingdom, that is Plantae and Animalia. Plantae with those organisms having cell wall. Animalia includes all those organisms which do not have cell wall. So this 2 kingdom classification system have certain inherent drawbacks or inherent problem. What are those inherent problems? First, this classification system groups prokaryote with eukaryote. Bacteria with cell wall is a prokaryote, is placed with fungi and Plantae. First drawback. Second, he grouped unicellular bacteria with multicellular fungi and plant because they have cell wall. Okay. Then he grouped autotrophic plant with heterotrophic fungi. So these are certain drawbacks of this 2 kingdom classification system. So this system did not distinguish between eukaryote and prokaryote, unicellular and multicellular organism, and photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organism. So these are the 3 major drawbacks of this system of classification. Okay, then there is 3 kingdom classification given by Ernst Haeckel. It is not there in NCERT, but I am simply mentioning this. He created a new kingdom, that is kingdom Protista. This kingdom Protista includes all those organisms which are eukaryotic and unicellular. Then there is 4 kingdom classification given by Copland. He created a new kingdom, that is Mycota, which was later on named as Monera by Allen and Doherty. Name is not very important. And this Monera includes all those organisms which are prokaryotic. So Protista, unicellular eukaryotic, irrespective of photosynthetic or heterotrophic, and Monera, all prokaryotic organisms. This is 4 kingdom classification. Then all these earlier classifications are based upon one or few characteristics. In order to make classification more inclusive, R.H. Whitaker in 1969 proposed 5 kingdom classification. Okay, so this 5 kingdom classification was proposed by R.H. Whitaker in 1969, and according to this, or as per this classification system, evidences are taken from different sources. So what are the sources which are taken into account during five kingdom classification by R.H. Whitaker? So these are morphology, cell structure, nature of cell wall, mode of nutrition, habitat, method of reproduction, evolutionary relationship, etc. Along with that, ecological role. Okay, ecological role means what role that organisms play in nature. So all these factors are considered by R.H. Whitaker to propose five kingdom classification. Okay, now as per NCERT, method of reproduction is one of the criteria in five kingdom classification as per NCERT, but it is not a criteria. Once this question was asked, I think in year 2013 or 14, there was a question in which it was asked which of the following was not considered as a criteria by R.H. Whitaker for five kingdom classification, and answer was method of reproduction. Okay, so R.H. Whitaker do not consider this method of reproduction as a criterion for five kingdom classification. Okay, now this is very important. Though plant and animal kingdom have been a constant under all different systems, the understanding of what group or organism be included under these kingdom have been changing. Okay, the number and nature of other kingdom have also been understood differently by different scientists over a time period. That means under the influence of new evidences which are obtained, position of organism in classification system keeps on changing, and new organisms are discovered and they are added to this classification system. So classification system is not static, it is dynamic. It keeps on changing depending upon what kind of evidences you are getting and what type of organisms you are able to identify or add into our repository of data. Okay, now so this is a table which is summary of five kingdom classification given by R.H. Whitaker. So he created a new kingdom, that is kingdom fungi, on the basis of mode of nutrition and body organization. Okay, now so these are some criteria, that is cell type, cell wall, nuclear membrane, body organization, mode of nutrition. So when we talk about cell type, in Monera we have prokaryotic cell type, Protista, rest are eukaryote. Then cell wall. Now in case of Monera, cell wall is non-cellulosic and it is made up of polysaccharide and amino acid, that is peptidoglycan, that we will study. Peptidoglycan. Okay, then in case of Protista, it is present in some. In fungi, it is chitin, which is polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine, or in short we call it NAG. Okay, then in plant it is cellulosic, in animal it is absent. Nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane, in prokaryote it is absent, whereas in rest it is present. Body organization. Okay, so Protist and Monera are cellular. Okay, rest are multicellular, but level of organization in these kingdoms are different. Although they are multicellular, what you will observe, in case of fungi it is loose tissue, in case of plant it is tissue and organ, whereas in case of animal it is tissue, organ and organ system. Then mode of nutrition, sometimes it is considered as most important criteria. Most important criteria. Okay, now so Monera can be autotrophic, chemosynthetic and photosynthetic. They are the only group which are chemosynthetic autotrophic. Okay, then they can be autotrophic, saprophytic, parasitic or symbiotic. Then Protist can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Fungi are heterotrophic, saprophytic or parasitic, and some can be symbiotic. Then Plantae, they are autotrophic, whereas animal heterotrophic, holozoic and saprophytic, etc. Holozoic means they ingest food. So this table represents 5 kingdom classification which was provided by R.H. Whittaker. Okay. Now, so as I have told you, R.H. Whittaker in 1969 proposed 5 kingdom classification, and there are 5 kingdoms, that is Monera, Protista and Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So main criteria used by him include cell structure, body organization, mode of nutrition, reproduction. Although it is mentioned in NCERT, but this was not the criteria considered by Whittaker. Then phylogenetic relationship, that is evolutionary relationship, that I have discussed in a table. Now, then there is a new concept, that is 3 domains of life or 6 kingdom classification. So this 3 domain system was proposed by Carl Woese. Okay. Now, according to Woese, this kingdom Monera can be divided into 2 separate kingdoms, that is Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Okay. So now we have 6 kingdoms, that is Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Then according to Woese, these 6 kingdoms can be grouped into 3 different domains. Okay, they can be grouped into 3 different domains on the basis of 16S rRNA sequence. It is type of rRNA. What you observed, in case of Archaebacteria, this sequence of 16S rRNA is different. In case of bacteria, it is different, Eubacteria. Whereas in case of eukaryotic kingdom, that is Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia, this 16S rRNA sequence is same and different from Archaebacteria and bacteria. That means there are 3 different domains on the basis of 16S rRNA sequence, and these domains are Archaea, which includes Archaebacteria, then bacteria, which includes Eubacteria, and then Eukarya, which includes all the eukaryotic kingdom. Okay. Okay. Clear? So, according to this kingdom, this question have been asked, if you follow this 5 kingdom system provided with Whittaker, all unicellular organisms are placed under Protista, like Chlorella, yeast, okay, Chlamydomonas, all of them are prokaryote. So basically we are discussing 3 domains of life. He divided kingdom Monera into 2 domains, leaving the remaining eukaryotic kingdom in 3rd domain, thereby a 6 kingdom classification that I have discussed. Okay, so this is different system of classification which we have to study. Now 6 kingdom or 3 domains of life is recently added in NCERT. Okay, now we will come to kingdom Monera. Okay, so kingdom Monera includes prokaryotic organism. They include prokaryotic organism, and the sole member of this kingdom is Monera is bacteria. Now they are most abundant microorganism. Bacteria occurs almost everywhere. That means they are omnipresent. Okay, they can live in extreme habitat such as hot spring, desert, snow, deep ocean where very few other life forms can survive. Okay, many of them are parasite. Now we divide bacteria into 4 different types on the basis of their shape. Okay, if it is spherical, then we call it coccus or cocci. If it is rod shaped, then we call it bacillus or bacilli. Then if it is spiral, we call it spirilla or spirillum. If it is comma shaped, then we call it vibrio. So these are the 4 different types on the basis of their shape. Now, although this is very important line, bacteria structure is very simple, but they have very complex in behavior. So bacteria are simple in structure and complex in behavior. Okay, then as a group they show most extensive metabolic diversity. What it means? In case of bacteria, you have autotrophic organisms which can be photo or chemoautotrophic. You have heterotrophic organisms which can be parasitic, saprophytic or symbiotic. Such kind of diversity you will not observe in any other kingdom. That's why we say they show most extensive metabolic diversity. Some of the bacteria are autotrophic. They synthesize their own food from inorganic substance. Okay, we call them chemosynthetic autotrophic. Okay, they may be photosynthetic autotrophic or chemosynthetic autotrophic. Okay, photosynthetic autotrophic like blue-green algae. Most of the bacteria, the vast majority of bacteria are heterotrophic. That means they depend upon other organisms to meet their nutritional requirement. Okay. Now, we divide bacteria into two different types, that is Archaebacteria and Eubacteria, on the basis of cell wall and cell membrane structure. Okay. Now, if there is a question where it is a choice between cell wall and cell membrane, you will choose cell wall. Okay. Preference will be given to cell wall. Okay. Now, so archae means ancient. So they are ancient bacteria. We also call them extremophiles because they are present in extreme environmental condition. Okay, so they live in some of the most harsh habitat such as extreme salty area, halophiles, hot spring, that is thermoacidophiles, and marshy area like methanogens. That means on the basis of their habitat where they are present, we divide them into three different types, that is halophiles in salt, thermoacidophiles in high temperature and acidic condition, and methanogens which are present in marshy area. Now, Archaebacteria differ from other bacteria and having different cell wall structure. Okay, and this feature is responsible for their survival in extreme condition. Okay, these methanogens are present in the gut of several ruminant animals like cattle such as cow, buffalo, and they are responsible for production of methane gas or biogas from dung of these animals. Basically what happens, these methanogens are present in gut of cattle where they are responsible for fermentive breakdown of cellulose. That means breakdown of cellulose in the absence of oxygen. So during this process they break down cellulose, thus they help in digestion of cellulose, and during this process as a byproduct methane gas is produced, and this methane gas is similarly produced in biogas plant or gobar gas plant which can be utilized as fuel. So working of gobar gas plant or biogas plant is based upon that of this cattle rumen. Now next is eubacteria. Now there are thousands of different eubacteria or true bacteria. They are characterized by the presence of rigid cell wall. So characteristic is presence of rigid cell wall, and if motile, a flagellum. Okay, that means it is not necessary that every bacteria should possess a flagella. Flagella can be present, it is a surface appendage in bacteria, but it is not necessary that every bacteria should possess a flagella. This question has been asked. Okay, now next. Cyanobacteria, also referred as blue-green algae, have a chlorophyll A similar to green plant. This question has been also asked. That means in case of blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, chlorophyll A present is similar to what is present in higher plant. Then are photosynthetic, that means they can produce their own food in presence of light. Now, cyanobacteria can be unicellular, colonial or filamentous, freshwater, marine or terrestrial. So unicellular, colonial or filamentous, they can be freshwater, marine or terrestrial, that means can be in freshwater, marine condition or on land. Then their colonies are covered with gelatinous sheath. Purpose of this gelatinous sheath is to keep inner environment dry with respect to outer wet environment. Okay. Now these cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, are responsible for bloom of polluted water. What is bloom of polluted water? That means when there is increase in amount of nutrient in water body, it promotes the growth of algae, and that is referred as algal bloom. And one of the common algae is this blue-green algae. Okay, some of these organisms can fix atmospheric nitrogen in a specialized cell called heterocyst. That means they have a specialized cell, heterocyst, thick wall cell where enzyme nitrogenase is present, which can convert atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, okay, like Nostoc and Anabina. Then we have chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria which can oxidize inorganic substance such as nitrate, nitrite, ammonia and use the release energy for their ATP production, and that energy or that ATP is utilized for production of food. They play a great role in recycling nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and sulfur, okay. So these chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria play very important role in cycling of nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and sulfur, okay. Now this is a diagram of blue-green algae Nostoc. You have mucilaginous sheath which provide protection to this filament. Then there is heterocyst, a specialized thick wall cell where fixation of nitrogen takes place. Now next group of bacteria is heterotrophic bacteria. They are most abundant in nature. So maximum number of bacteria which are present in nature are heterotrophic, okay. The majority are important decomposer. Many of them have significant impact on human affair. That means these heterotrophic bacteria affects human in both way, in positive as well as negative way. So positive aspect like making curd by lactobacillus, production of antibiotics by different bacteria, then fixing nitrogen in legumes root. Some are pathogen and causing damage to human beings, crops, farm animals and pets. Bacterial disease such as cholera, Vibrio cholera, Salmonella typhi, typhoid, tetanus. Then citrus canker, Xanthomonas citri. This is very important example. Okay, question have been asked regularly. Xanthomonas citri, which is responsible for citrus canker, are well known disease caused by different bacteria. Okay, now we come to bacterial reproduction. So sorry, in case of bacteria, reproduction is mainly by asexual means. Sexual reproduction is absent, but genetic recombination is there, okay. So bacteria reproduce mainly by fission. Sometime under unfavorable condition they produce spore, and that spore is known as endospore. This endospore is thick wall spore which helps in survival during unfavorable condition. So during binary fission what happens? A bacteria divides by simple cell division to form two daughter cell, and this is the most common method of bacterial reproduction. This is one of the example of bacteria undergoing binary fission. Finally this invagination will meet and this bacterial cell will divide into two daughter cell. Now they don't have sexual reproduction, but they reproduce, or we basically call it genetic recombination. Genetic recombination by a sort of sexual reproduction by adopting a primitive type of DNA transfer from one bacterium to another, okay. So this can be by transformation, conjugation and transduction. These are some of the method of primitive way of DNA transfer in bacteria. Out of this, transformation will be studied in detail in class 12th in chapter molecular basis of inheritance. Now then there is another group of bacteria, that is mycoplasma, that are they completely lack cell wall. Although they are bacteria, but here cell wall is absent. They are the smallest living cell known and can survive without oxygen. So they can survive without oxygen, and they are pathogenic to both plant and animal. So mycoplasma are smallest living organism without cell wall, can survive in absence of oxygen, and they are pathogenic to both plants and animals. So basically here I am discussing only NCERT. This chapter is discussed in, this part is discussed in detail in original video. This is a short duration video, so only NCERT is discussed here, okay. So we are through with first unit, that includes classification system as well as this kingdom Monera.